federation is consisting of affiliated unions from various major ports in the country. Now we are having a primary task and primary challenge before us is the Major Port Authorities Bill 2016. We are having very serious apprehension that this Major Port Authority Bill will also be taken for voting. Now what is the difference between the Major Port Authorities Bill and the existing Major Port Trust Act 1963? And we are having the coastal area of more than 7,000 kilometers from east and west. In the eastern side there are 6 major ports and in the western side there are 6 major ports. Totally 12 major ports are there. These 12 major ports are administered and controlled by the Major Port Trust Act 1963 under the control of Ministry of Shipping. This government from its very beginning have been planning to corporatize or to privatize the major port authorities through the bill. The corporatization of the major ports, we feel very strongly, it is the first step to privatize the major ports in the country. Now the biggest challenge is the threat to the national security. Why? Because you know the geographical position of the India. 3 sides there are sea, ocean, and if we privatize these major ports and handing over it to the private party, and there is every chance of entering the anti-nationals and through the private companies anybody can come inside. How we distinguish this between the existing Major Port Trust Act and Authority Bill is, in the Major Port Trust Act still it is a clause, there is a clause. If a particular port wanted to develop its business, it can go for additional capital either from the nationalized bank or state government or central government after obtaining the necessary sanction from the ministry. Whereas in the new bill, which is going to be enacted as an act in the ensuing parliament winter session, what will happen? In the clause it says, for developing the business, the individual port can go for a loan or can invite any individual living in India or living in abroad. When we pointed out this clause before the parliamentary committee, the committee itself agreed, yes, this clause will pave the backside entry for the private parties into the port sector. Thereby the ports will be handed over to private parties. For example, some of the major ports like Goa, Visakhapatnam, Cochin, and including this Mumbai is handling the military cargo. This military cargo handle is very safety and security, very secrecy should be maintained. When we hand over these private ports to the private party, there is no guarantee to maintain our secrecy. And similarly, large number of people are working in the ports and more than 33,700 crore money is with these ports. Now according to NPT Act, the money, the surplus fund, pension fund, gratuity fund will be maintained in the national bank like Indian Bank or Indian Overseas Bank, State Bank of India, etc. Whereas the new bill, if it becomes an act, that will pave the way that these surplus fund can be deposited in private banks. Already the money deposited in the nationalized bank is not at all guaranteed. You know what happened, the money deposited in the national Punjab National Bank, one Mr. Nirav Modi has taken over money, Malaya has taken over the money, there is no guarantee. So these are all the detrimental clauses. And another important clause what we feel is that land. The major ports are having lakhs and lakhs of acres of lands. In India, other than the railway, the largest sector is the port, which is having the large number of acres of lands. For example, I will tell you, the Bombay port is having huge lands. Now the big corporates are having their eye on the lands owned by the public sector in the country and ports in the country. So thereby this government, which is almost pro-capitalist, pro-corporates, pro-multinational companies, want to enact this law. Thereby the ports lands can also be sold out to the private parties. So we are planning to synchronize, to mount the pressure on the government not to make this bill as an act. At any cost, we want to stop the government not to introduce the bill or not take up the voting in the winter session of the parliament. And you are aware already the 10 major central trade unions in the country like HMS, CITU, AITUC, INTUC and the other unions, all 10 central unions have given a call to go for a 2 days countrywide strike on January 8 and 9.
When the Major Protest Act 1963 was enacted, the political scenario in the country was entirely different. Now the era of the LPG policies, liberalization, globalization, privatization, the intention of the government or the rulers are always to sell out the public assets to private corporates or companies. In the major port sector, with the influence and with the authority of the Major Protest Act in 1963, all kind of development activities could have been taken place. And in many of the major ports, these projects are already put in place also. Further expansion is required. The government can very well approach the public banks or the government to get more money for these particular projects. But instead of that, by promulgating this particular Major Port Authority Act, still it is bill and all set for make it as an act. They want to have it from the private entities or private or parties to invest in the port sector, and thereby the public ports will be gradually handing over to the private parties. This is one of the main danger concealed in this particular process. Another thing is that I said about the context in which this particular enactment is going to take place. In fact, in the existing Major Protest Act, there is a provision, that is section 111 of the Major Protest Act. That particular provision can empower the government to give directions to the major protest boards. That was in the context of the 1963, whereas the present proposed bill also, there is a provision that is section 50 subsection 1 and 2. This particular provision in fact endangering the present situation and just to make the major ports, public major ports into private major ports by giving direction by the government to the port authorities. This will definitely impact the public interest. This will definitely impact the interest of the workers. This will definitely impact the impact of on the society in general. So, at any cost, we are of the concerned view that the proposed enactment which is under the consideration of the Parliament, particularly in the Rajya Sabha, which is coming for voting, we hope so, we suspect so, may coming for voting in the winter session, that will be a detriment for the interest of the nation, of the public, of the citizen, of the major ports, of the working class, and in general it is against the interest of the country. So that we are opposing that particular authority, and we are for the existence and survival of the major ports and its workers. Thank you.
वीडियो अच्छा लगे तो ये वीडियो को लाइक करें, शेयर करें और सब्सक्राइब बटन को दबाएं और बाजू में जो बेल आइकन होता है उसे भी दबाएं, जिससे हमारी हर एक नई आने वाली वीडियो आप लोगों को